Hi there, this is Jamie, and today I want to talk about the ScrapbookCom exclusive stencils. These stencils are about, I would say, well, I'm pretty sure they're 6 by 8, and I have several of them here. I have this honeycomb, just a great open stencil, this heart, a little bit tighter, a little bit smaller, snowflake. I can't wait to use a snowflake. I love how random the pattern is, and I have a couple of ideas for that. This is called a scallop, super pretty, also super open. Oh, and these trees are awesome for this time of year and very seasonal, so might have to pull those out too. And then this herringbone, just sort of a classic, very open design. What I want to do today is take the honeycomb, the first one I showed you, mostly because the honeycomb for me is hexagon. And hexagon is a really, it's just a shape I am loving right now. If you've seen any of my videos for the stories I'm finishing for my December album from 2018, and if you've seen any of my foundation pages or finish pages for 2019, hexagons may or may not be very visual in that album. So that's why I chose to use this particular stencil. What I'm doing here is I have Graphics Clear Kraft plastic. I have a link below where you can find this, and it's just an acetate that makes for a great page album divider, makes for a great clear page. You can cut it up and use it in different ways. And one of the things I wanted to play with here was taking the stencil, and I'm also going to tape the stencil down as well. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with. And if you don't use a whole lot of tape, it's also easy to pull. It's easy enough to pull up, so you don't have to worry about it messing with your design. And what I'm doing here is I have an old bottle of Heidi Swapp texture paste. It's a metallic texture paste. If you have any of her texture paste, what you can do, and you can see I have the Minc Machine out here, is you can run it through your Minc Machine and it will foil. It's super cool. I haven't tested other texture paints yet. It's on my list to do. Also, what you can use, you can also use the reactive screen ink. That makes for a pretty great way to spread the medium through stencils. The thing about the screen ink, and I use it quite a bit, is it's just not quite as thick as the texture paste. So that's why I'm going to go with the texture paste today. And I have a Kraft knife here, a palette knife, if you will, and I go a little differently than a lot of people on this. I like to spread the texture paste on the knife, and I probably actually should have put it on the other side. Okay, so everything is down flat. I'm going to try to cover this as much as I can, and just going with some smooth scraping, trying to make it as flat as I possibly am able. This texture paste is sort of like a frosting, so it spreads really nice. And as I find this texture paste out there, I will link this up as well. And so it takes a little bit. This is a pretty good size stencil, and it has what I call nice depth. And I couldn't give you the measurements, but it takes to this medium going through it pretty well. So you're going to see when I do lift it up, it's going to leave a pretty nice impression. So let me just finish here a couple more spaces. What's kind of tricky, since I'm not going to go over the entire stencil, I don't want my edges to look too rough, if you will. So I'm trying to just smooth that out a little bit. And you're just going to have to play with it and come to what is pleasing to you. A lot of people like to have the kind of the whipped look, like you kind of see right there. That finish. Some don't mind if there's pock marks. I mean, this is a mixed media technique. It's not about making this perfectly patterned image. It's about laying down some pattern and then seeing what happens when you cover it and run it through your Minc Machine. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this tape away from the stencil. One of the things I've already tried when playing with this technique is you saw how I adhered the acetate to the cutting mat behind it. That way I could just pick up the cutting mat and it will obviously stay on there and not move around. And that way I can take it to wherever I need it to go and let it dry really well and not fear messing with it. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to move this out of the way right now, is that needs to dry super well. After it's dry, I'm going to take and run it through the Minc machine. And I'm using the champagne reactive foil, my favorite color. And then I will show you what that looks like after I've run it through the machine with the foil. Okay, so it's gone through the machine. I laid the champagne reactive foil over it. And now for the reveal. And I think they turned out pretty cool. Can you see that foil finish? It's just a great mixed media finish. I probably could have gone in and made these spaces, these little holes and the surface of them a little smoother. And then I'm noticing I have a pretty big glop right here. When I go to embellish this page, I'm going to cover this up and you're going to see what that looks like next. Okay, so I have a couple things at play here. So you see I have my stenciled page. I'm going to kind of treat it like a page divider. And you're seeing a little peek into my 2019 December album. And I've already punched holes in it, so it's ready to go into this album. And I've pulled a piece of the vellum. This is ephemera from Heidi Swapp Winter Wonderland collection. And there's a whole pack of this that is vellum die cuts and cardstock die cuts and some foil pieces. And so that is, you remember I showed you my little bubble? You know, it doesn't matter how these things look. We can cover them all up. We have ways. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to lay that there. I love this stamp and die set from Heidi Swapp. I have quite a few videos using this set that you can, I will link here below in my channel, and you can view those and see how you can use them in your December album or any sort of, you're going to see I've used them on gifts and on tags and on cards, and it's a very versatile set, and I think you need to have that in your collection. So what I did is I used the Christmas die, and it's in Heidi Swapp's classic hand lettering, and went ahead and cut out a Christmas out of cardstock. It's American Kraft textured red cardstock. And I'm going to layer that over the poinsettia, I think. I don't think I want it up here, but actually maybe I do. Maybe I do want it right there. And so that's going to be layered there. And I grabbed some of the washi tape from that collection as well. I have, my book has the theme of the patterns that are part of this collection. And then I stuck with gold foil for the metallic, I guess, hue. And I also stayed with a lot of white. I used red and black. I didn't use any green in this book. There's very little green. I mean, you're going to see the green on like this poinsettia plant part. But other than that, there is not a whole lot of green that is being used in this book. So I just kind of kept it pretty thematic. So this gold here was perfect, and it plays well with the other gold that's happening in my book as well. Okay, so I'm using here the exclusive ScrapbookCom tape roller. And I absolutely love that tape runner. It is got great adhesive to it, but at the same time, you know, if you're making a mistake, like I just added the adhesive here on the wrong side, you've got time to pull it up. And so I highly suggest that particular roller runner tape. And I'm going to sit that, still haven't totally decided. It's going to actually go right there. And for that, I'm going to need a bit of liquid glue. So when I have these pretty delicate die cuts, I like to use the liquid glue in just a couple of places. My operating standard is to not have my elements flat on my surface. I like them to float a little bit. Even as delicate as this is, it's going to be sitting entirely on the acetate, the Kraft paper, so it's not hanging over. It's not going to get bumped. It's going to be sitting nice and flat in the book. So I'm pretty happy with how that will work out. And then I'm going to use, got a bunch of stars stuck on here on this cardstock sticker set. I'm just going to use a red star here for the point for my Christmas, the dot, if you will. And that is how that came together. So super cute way to make a transparency with texture, or make a page divider for your December album, or actually any other album, because you can cut this plastic paper down to any size. And then I loved using it here with the ScrapbookCom honeycomb stencil. So everything's going to be linked below. I hope you find some inspiration here today on how to make your own transparencies. And click a thumbs up if you like this video. I'd love for you to subscribe as well. I've got a lot more where this came from, and we'll see you next time.